The 2008 math test adoption has already come into effect. The National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, or NCTM, adopted it in 2008 and it has been implemented in most states since then. This means that changes to curriculum, teaching methods, and assessment practices have likely occurred in many school systems. To understand the impact, it's helpful to consider what the 2008 test emphasized and how it differed from previous tests. The NCTM, a professional organization for mathematics educators, plays a significant role in shaping math education standards and practices across the United States. Their recommendations often influence state curriculum frameworks and assessments. When NCTM adopts a new test or set of standards, it typically signals a shift in the focus of math education. The adoption of the 2008 test likely brought about changes in several areas. Firstly, curriculum alignment. States and school districts often revise their math curriculum to align with the content and skills assessed by the test. This may involve introducing new topics, modifying existing ones, or changing the sequence in which topics are taught. Secondly, instructional practices. Teachers may adopt new teaching methods and strategies to better prepare students for the test. This could include an increased emphasis on problem solving, critical thinking, and the application of mathematical concepts to real-world situations. Thirdly, assessment methods. Schools may use formative and summative assessments that mirror the format and content of the 2008 test. This allows them to track student progress and identify areas where students need additional support. The specific content and skills emphasized in the 2008 test would have varied depending on the grade level and subject area. However, some common themes may have included number and operations, algebra, geometry, measurement, and data analysis and probability. For example, at the elementary level, the test may have focused on developing students' understanding of basic number concepts, operations, and problem-solving skills. At the middle school level, the test may have emphasized algebra, geometry, and data analysis. At the high school level, the test may have covered more advanced topics such as calculus, trigonometry, and statistics. It's important to note that the implementation of the 2008 test may have varied across states and school districts. Some states may have fully adopted the test and integrated it into their curriculum and assessment systems, while others may have only partially adopted it or chosen to use alternative assessments. To fully understand the impact of the 2008 test adoption, it would be necessary to examine specific state and district curriculum frameworks, assessment data, and teacher training materials. This information will provide insights into how the test has influenced math education practices and student outcomes in different contexts. In addition, it's important to consider the broader context of math education reform. The adoption of the 2008 test was likely part of a larger effort to improve math education in the United States. This effort may have included initiatives such as raising academic standards, improving teacher quality, and promoting STEM, or science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education. The impact of the 2008 test adoption should be evaluated in light of these broader trends. One way to assess the impact is to look at student achievement data. Has student performance on standardized math tests improved since the adoption of the 2008 test? Have achievement gaps between different groups of students narrowed? Another way to assess the impact is to survey teachers and administrators. Do they believe that the 2008 test has had a positive impact on math education? Do they feel that they have the resources and support they need to effectively implement the test? In conclusion, the 2008 math test adoption has likely had a significant impact on math education in many states. This impact may be seen in changes to curriculum, instructional practices, assessment methods, and student outcomes. To fully understand the impact, it's necessary to examine specific state and district data and to consider the broader context of math education reform. It is important to understand what the 2008 test adoption involved. This adoption refers to the decision by various educational bodies, primarily state departments of education and local school districts, to incorporate the principles, standards, and recommendations outlined in the 2008 publications and guidelines issued by the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, or NCTM. The NCTM is a professional organization that provides leadership in mathematics education, offering standards, professional development, and resources to support teachers and improve student learning. The adoption of these guidelines by educational entities often leads to significant changes in math curricula, teaching methodologies, and assessment practices in schools. Key components of the 2008 NCTM guidelines that influence the adoption process include curriculum content, emphasizing a focused and coherent math curriculum that prioritizes depth over breadth. The guidelines recommended that curricula should concentrate on essential mathematical concepts and skills, allowing students to develop a deeper understanding of these topics. Pedagogical approaches advocated for student-centered learning environments where students actively engage in mathematical tasks and discussions. The guidelines promoted the use of problem-solving, reasoning, and communication as integral parts of math instruction. Assessment practices called for a balanced assessment system that includes formative and summative assessments to monitor student progress and inform instruction. The guidelines encourage the use of varied assessment methods, such as projects, portfolios, and performance tasks to evaluate students' mathematical understanding and skills. The implementation of the 2008 test adoption typically involves several stages. Firstly, initial review and alignment. School districts and state departments of education review the 2008 NCTM guidelines and compare them to their existing math curricula and standards. This step involves identifying areas where the current curriculum aligns with the NCTM recommendations and areas where changes are needed. Secondly, curriculum revision. Based on the review, school districts revise their math curricula to align with the 2008 NCTM guidelines. This may involve adding new topics, modifying existing ones, or changing the sequence in which topics are taught. Teachers are provided with professional development and training to help them implement the new curriculum and teaching strategies. This may include workshops, seminars, and online courses that focus on the 2008 NCTM guidelines and their implications for classroom practice. Thirdly, assessment development. School districts develop or adopt new assessments to measure student learning in alignment with the 2008 NCTM guidelines. This may involve creating new tests, quizzes, and performance tasks that assess students' understanding of essential mathematical concepts and skills. Fourthly, ongoing support and evaluation. School districts provide ongoing support and resources to teachers to help them implement the new curriculum and assessment practices. This may include mentoring programs, coaching, and access to instructional materials. The effectiveness of the implementation is evaluated through student achievement data, teacher feedback, and other measures. The impact of the 2008 test adoption on teaching methodologies is substantial. It encourages a shift from traditional, teacher-centered approaches to more student-centered, inquiry-based methods. Teachers are encouraged to use a variety of instructional strategies to engage students in learning. Problem-solving activities give students opportunities to apply mathematical concepts to real-world situations and develop critical thinking skills. Collaborative projects enable students to work together to solve problems, share ideas, and learn from each other. Technology integration involves using technology tools such as calculators, computers, and interactive whiteboards to enhance math instruction and provide students with opportunities to explore mathematical concepts in new ways. Assessment practices also see a shift from traditional tests and quizzes to more authentic assessment methods. Performance tasks require students to demonstrate their understanding of mathematical concepts by completing real-world tasks. Portfolios provide students with opportunities to showcase their work and reflect on their learning. Formative assessments give teachers ongoing feedback on student learning so that they can adjust their instruction accordingly. Professional development is a key component of the 2008 test adoption. Teachers need to be trained on the new curriculum, teaching strategies, and assessment practices. Professional development can take many forms, such as workshops, seminars, and online courses. It is important that professional development be ongoing and job embedded so that teachers have the support they need to implement the new standards effectively. Parental involvement is also important for the success of the 2008 test adoption. Parents need to be informed about the new curriculum and how they can support their children's learning. Schools can provide parents with resources and workshops to help them understand the new standards and how to help their children succeed in math. In summary, the 2008 test adoption involves the implementation of the NCTM guidelines at schools. This adoption leads to significant changes in math curricula, teaching methodologies, and assessment practices. The goal of the 2008 test adoption is to improve student learning in mathematics and prepare students for success in college and careers. The adoption of the 2008 test brought with it many changes in the educational sector. The adoption of the 2008 NCTM standards and recommendations has already been in effect for well over a decade. Most states have integrated these standards into their math curricula, although the degree of implementation and specific approaches may vary. For example, some states may have fully aligned their math standards and assessments with the 2008 NCTM guidelines, while others may have adopted them more selectively or adapted them to fit their specific needs and priorities. Additionally, ongoing updates and revisions to state standards and curricula may have occurred since the initial adoption of the 2008 NCTM guidelines. These updates may reflect new research, changing educational priorities, or feedback from teachers and other stakeholders. In addition to changes in curriculum and assessment, the adoption of the 2008 NCTM guidelines has also influenced teaching methodologies and professional development practices in math education. Many teachers have embraced student-centered instructional strategies, such as problem-based learning and inquiry-based learning, to engage students more actively in mathematical tasks and discussions. Furthermore, professional development programs for math teachers have increasingly focused on helping teachers implement the NCTM standards effectively and use data to inform their instruction. The impact of the 2008 NCTM guidelines on student achievement and outcomes is a complex issue that has been the subject of ongoing research and debate. Some studies have shown positive effects of the NCTM standards on student learning, while others have found mixed or inconclusive results. The effects of the standards may also vary depending on factors such as the quality of implementation, the characteristics of the student population, and the alignment of assessments with the standards. Overall, the adoption of the 2008 NCTM guidelines has had a significant impact on math education in the United States. While the specific details of implementation and the resulting outcomes may vary across states and school districts, the NCTM standards have played a key role in shaping math curricula, teaching methodologies, and assessment practices in recent years. The long-term effects of the standards on student achievement and preparation for college and careers remain an important area of ongoing research and evaluation. It is also important to consider that the field of mathematics education is constantly evolving, with new research and best practices emerging regularly. Therefore, educators and policymakers should continue to stay informed about the latest developments in the field and adapt their practices accordingly to ensure that all students have access to high-quality math education. The influence of the 2008 test adoption extended beyond just the NCTM standards.